All right. So welcome. 30-minute deep dive into the culture work. What's going on in the culture? So basically what I want to do today is talk about how the California South division, led by Annabelle Sanchez and myself with a group of awesome people, how we're looking to impact culture, to really make this a place that you feel alive in and where you have the freedom to fully express your unique giftings for a unified and a shared mission. Colonel Chamness, our efforts will always be helped or hindered by our culture. So why do we need a culture plan? So there is a saying that says culture eats strategy for breakfast. That's done by Peter Drucker, or stated by Peter Drucker. And really the goal of our culture plan are these four things down here: constructive community and communication, innovation and collaboration, vision and vitality, the prioritization of people over policy. So we did some research. We hired an outside consultant, and basically what was found is there was really four areas that employees, leadership, and all who were interviewed, there were consistent messaging. Messaging was both positive and in some areas negative. So obviously creating a plan, we want to reinforce the positive and we want to address the negative. But these are the four negatives that were identified. So silos and separation, unclear organizational direction, restrictive and controlling leadership style, closed to creativity. Now, when you talk about those things, it can be a little bit hurtful for some people to hear, oh, that's not the kind of culture that I want to, create as a leader, as an employee, as a stakeholder. But these things are, if we're honest, some of these things can be inherently associated with Salvation Army culture. The hierarchical kind of system that we have, it generates some of these things. So it's not to point fingers at people, it's to it's to look at issues and find solutions for those issues. So what's our response? We're going to create a diverse team, or we did, to tackle cultural issues, those four identified, develop and implement initiatives that create change, retain the assistance of our external consultant, actively promote our cultural initiatives, soliciting regular feedback and progress. All right, so that's some of the response. That was the plan. So here's a little snapshot of our team. Shifting around a little bit, but that's generally the team. It's been an absolute pleasure working with these people. They are both beautiful and really quite competent. And it's just been lovely. They all have compassion and competency, which is just really a lovely combination. So what was the process? So as we had discussed, we did research, we identified issues, we came up with solutions to those issues. We came up with quite a few solutions to the issues, and then we came to agreement of what we should prioritize, and then we went to work on implementing those things. And these are actually the initiatives we came up with. There are 9 initiatives. So we have the officer and program staff communication. We just wanted to improve communication with our officers and program staff. So we spoke into that a little bit. We had the Get to Yes campaign, and we'll go through that a little bit. I'm going to go in detail with all of these various initiatives. We have communications training. Yanette Cortez oversaw that. Organizational values, which we've been speaking about. New employee on board program. Customer service training. Annual vision cast campaign. Core coaching, overseen by Ashley Coble, captain, and communication plan overseen by myself. All right. So the officer call, so there's a little bit of detail about the officer call. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but you can reference that a little bit later. An initiative that we came up with was the Get to Yes campaign. And that campaign is really is not targeted at CFC, what CFC can do to get proposals a thumbs up or a green light. It's what the field can do to really just it's leadership pointing out what the best way to communicate your ideas, your plans, your dreams, your vision to CFC, so they know what they're supporting and they know what they need to give the green light. So what we've done is we've come up with a flyer or a leaflet that gives quick codes, primary contacts for different departments. It also outlines really the 1, 2, 3 process that should be taken. We need to connect, communicate, confirm. There's also a quick little poster that will be going out to core officers and program directors. And then we're going to do a skit where it's kind of like a spoof of The Office. Second one is communication training, which was developed by Yannette Cortez. And so we just felt like it was really important that each of us knew what the standards were for communication. I think this quote is really quite spot on. One poor interaction will not only create a single experience, but an ongoing perception you'll struggle to shake. Nerson Kiston. All of us have had experiences. Our perceptions of people are based upon limited interactions and limited information. And so what we need to do is we need to ensure that the majority of our interactions are courteous, professional, compassionate, etc. And so what Yannette has done, she's put together a communications guide, the Clear, Kind and Constructive Communications book. And it will be part of our onboarding program with new employees. The good thing about this is not just informing you of how you should be communicating, but it gives you a tool on how you can hold others accountable who you work alongside to good communication. And that's really a lot of what we're doing, is that we say, hey, this communication is not in line with the organizational standard for communication. I'd really, really appreciate it if you're able to communicate in a way that really articulates our values. So that's kind of language that we want to instill within our culture. And this book does a really good job at outlining just some helpful tips regarding communication. So thanks to Yannette for doing that. Appreciate it. All right, organizational values. So last week at the all staff meeting, we spoke about organizational values. And this morning at the all officer call, we spoke about organizational values. Christ compassion compels us. Our community strengthens us. Our communication connects us. Our courage propels us. Our celebration affirms us. Those are the things that if our organizational house is on fire, they're the things that we run back into the house to get. They're the non-negotiables. They're the things that we absolutely refused to leave behind. So we have a values integration plan. There's a little outline of our values integration plan. So we know that it's not enough just to come up with organizational values, but we have to have a plan and a strategy to communicate those well and often, so that they become part of who we just conceptualize ourselves to be. So that's really important. So we have a values pocketbook. It's a little card you'll be getting in a couple of weeks, trifold business card. We have an event coming up that will specifically cast our vision and values. We'll have a celebration center at each of the various offices, places where we celebrate people and programs and projects that embody our values. For every value that we have, we'll have a little video. We're working on that now. Also, we're working on an interior design projects and proposal where our values will be displayed along the building. So there's different ways we'll be doing that. We'll be communicating our values on the DC 360. 3 thoughts in 60 seconds. If you haven't checked that out, click on it. Literally, it's like 1 minute and 40 seconds. 40 of those seconds are honestly the intro and outro. So there is 60 seconds of three thoughts. We've got DC High Five. That's the from the divisional commander's desk. We'll be shifting that now. We've launched our values to emphasize a value per month. Here's an interesting one. In June, we'll be launching DC Connect. DC Connect will be a social media platform specifically designed for the divisional commanders, regardless of who they are, whether that be the Chamnesses or whether that be somebody down the road, to communicate meaningfully and efficiently with Salvation Army stakeholders. And so it'll be with you. So if there's an issue going on, it will be quick blast out. If there's something that we need to get to you guys quickly, whether it's a cultural issue, a societal thing, a celebratory thing, it just gives us that mechanism of connecting meaningfully and efficiently. So we also have values onboarding packet, Red Shield book, Passion Award, recognizing folks that embody our values. I just want to focus a little bit on the Red Shield book, because that's going to be the way in which we articulate, solidify, and canonize our values. So the Red Shield book is really inspired by Starbucks Green Apron book. So every Starbucks employee carries within their green apron a values book. It's really, really powerful document. This is our version of that. And so there will be information on our history, global impact, some of our statements on some positional statements, getting good feedback on that. We've had a big team working on that, so really appreciate that. But the most important part of that Red Shield book, in my opinion, is the articulation of the values. And so I spoke about this morning and last week a little bit. So there's really a playbook. What do those values look like within our organization? It's fine saying that Christ's compassion compels us, but how? How does that compel us? So we had leadership speaking into this. And so we just came up with some statements. We are transformed together by a love greater than ourselves, made available to us by Jesus. As an army of love, all our conquests are achieved through compassion. We choose compassion over comfort, choosing to serve over being served. We enter conflict with compassion, speaking truth with love. Every position and all delegated power is granted to serve rather than belittle or oppress. The more power is given, the more compassion is expected. Get an amen for that one?
Yes.
If we're not careful, we might have church in a little bit. We might have little church. The reality is, guys, these things are so important, and we want to give you tools that give you the capacity to influence the culture. So whether you're talking with a superior, whether you see a colleague connecting with a customer in a specific way, we want to give you tools and say, hey, this is not what we're about, or well done, this is what we're about. You embodied those things. So it's really our way not to really project upon you what we want from you, but it's to give you something so you can project that out. So that's really the idea behind that. So we have our personnel onboarding program, which is going to be phenomenal. It's really, when you walk through the front door, you're going to be walking into our values, our culture. And so we have a really exciting program planned here, done by Mortimer Jones. From the moment a person arrives in the parking lot, they should be introduced to our culture. I think that's accurate. You can read the details on that. Here's a quick little snapshot of some of the products, material. Every employee will get a welcome pack. So the welcome pack is just, hey, how you doing? These are our values. So glad you're here. These are some of the quick facts that you're going to find helpful. And then we have a program and orientation. There's a schedule of the orientation. So day one, it's all onboarding, connecting with what's called an avatar or aviator rather. And somebody that's going to just come alongside and mentor you and coach you and be a buddy and a support just during your first day and continually, just to really help integrate you into our culture, rhythms, expectations, etc. One of the things that will be part of the onboarding again is the Red Shield book. So you'll all get physical copies of the Red Shield book, but you'll also get a PDF electronic version. I just wanted to point out here that the PDF version will have hyperlinks in there. So every time you see an icon, so it'll be something like this, this will take you to a video, or you'll see another icon that has an internet icon on it. You'll click on it on the electronic version, kind of looks like that. And then it will take you either to a YouTube video or directly to our culture website. That will be used for onboarding and as our central hub for culture. Be really easy to access. And I think that would be good. Oscar's going to help me with that from development. So I really appreciate that, Oscar. So we have customer service training. This is led by Caleb Danielson. Good customer service is the engine of success. Good job with that quote, Caleb. It's basically, this embodies the heart of leadership and really of Caleb as well, is that we really want to imbibe a spirit of servitude. So when we connect, when we see our role, who are we as a team at divisional headquarters? We are servants. We're here to serve the field. We're here to serve our donors. We're here to serve our stakeholders. We humble ourselves in an attitude of servitude so that we can really impact them, not just by doing a good job, but in a way in which we connect. So there's three components of that initiative. One is working with leadership. One is that internal stakeholders. So that's you guys, those who work at regional offices and divisional headquarters. And then the third thing will be, third component is communicating those expectations of customer service with the field. So every cultural change that we're able to assimilate within our organization, we want to impart that to the field. All right. Another initiative. Whoa, there's so many of them, but they're very cool. Annual Vision Cast Day. So as you may remember at the very beginning, one of the issues that was brought up and in conversations that I've had with folks is that just lack of this feeling of floating in space, that not communicating our vision, our plans effectively makes people feel like a little bit like lost within the organization, disconnected to the mission. And so the Annual Vision Cast campaign is designed to remedy that, communicate clearly what we're about. Yanette mentioned, without a vision, we are unable to identify and overcome the obstacles that hinder our mission. And it's honestly true. We have to be able to discover and articulate well vision. So we've got a couple of mechanisms of doing that. We've got two events coming up. The first event will be designed as a kind of welcome back thing, where we will articulate our values in that. That will be August, Friday the 13th, 10 to 1. And as it stated, the purpose of that is really about coming together, building community around shared experience, vision, values, and shared successes. It's really giving us an opportunity to look back on the last year and a half, 2 years, acknowledge the challenges, but understand that we're relinquishing some of that pain, and we're freeing ourselves up to embrace what we believe God has planned for us, which is a beautiful, challenging, but intensely meaningful and worthwhile. So the goals of that first event is healing, community, and celebration. Absolutely important to acknowledge the challenges and the sacrifices that have been made over the last year and a half. I was talking to my neighbor just the other day who works for the city of Torrance. He runs the HR department in the city of Torrance. And I mentioned to him that it's going to be incredibly difficult for people to return back to work with the same kind of expectations upon them as if nothing happened over the last year and a half. There needs to be a transitory and a healing process to help people acclimatize back into the usual rhythms and expectations and responsibilities that will be communicated. So we need to do that well. This event is a part of facilitating that process. Second event is called Together California South, and that will be a bit more of a flashy affair. It's to communicate, to celebrate, and to engage. So it'll be high caliber, crisp, professional, catered, open to internal and external stakeholders, and it will really be about articulating the vision of the divisional commanders. Looking forward to that. That will be in September, October time. Core coaching, another thing. This really came out of the heart. So how can we best serve the field? How can we embody that mentality of servitude to empower those that we've been called to serve, which is leaders in the field and core officers. So the core coaching initiatives is a great little quote by Kevin Larson. When we coach rather than police Salvation Army officers, we increase their impact on those they love and serve. I think that's a great paradigm. So we conducted a number of interviews, surveys, and asked core officers what do they want from divisional headquarters, and they all said, we want you to invest in us and coach us, really, because they are so stretched in various areas and in a multitude of different areas. They want a personalized and personal way of gaining from your expertise. So we have 3 different mechanisms, potential mechanisms to do that. One is officer development. Second is targeted ministry. And the third is strengthening core. So that strengthening core is strengthening leadership within the core. So officer development is looking at patterns, priorities, and tools, looking at their patterns. Are they healthy patterns? Are they harmful patterns? Do their priorities align with the mission, the needs of that moment? They might have aligned with the needs of the core 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, but do their energies align with current priorities? And then do they have the tools to actually make a difference and to gain traction in accomplishing those goals that emphasize or lean towards those priorities? Second one is targeted ministry. I won't go into too much detail about it, but it's looking at the identity of the core, building a strategy around that identity. That identity talks about, your history, community needs, etc. Strategy is how you best express that. Ministry are just some of the tools to do that. Adventure Core, Sunbeams, whatever it is, new ministry and methodology is really best practices, systems. Strengthening core is really looking at assisting core from a building up a leadership team at the core. Core officers often state that they are incredibly overwhelmed and wear many, many hats. This proposal seeks to build a team up so that the strength and the burden of the local cause comes from a team, not from a couple or a personality. Okay, and then lastly, we have communications plan. Phase 1 is culture communication. Phase 2 is organization communication. Culture communication is all about articulating well our values, creating mechanisms that reinforce our values, encourage healthy culture. Phase 2 is organizational communication. It's really to do with systems health. What mechanisms are we using? How do we communicate to you in ways in which create clarity, lift morale, etc. So here are some of the ways in which we, the culture communications plan deals with accessing the landing teams, but also DC 360, social media, High Five, Culture Connect, little seminars like this, etc. All right. And then the second phase 2 is really is part of the strategic plan, divisional headquarters strategic plan. And the strategic plan, there's a massive component on that is internal communications. All right. So that's actually 9 initiatives. And there's a deep dive there. So I want to just take a moment, very brief moment, just to thank you for being part of this organization. So if it's all right, I want to finish in a little word of prayer. I just want to speak a little blessing over you, and feel free to receive it as a token gesture and gift. Father, thank you so much for your love. Thank you for your beauty. Thank you for your holiness. Thank you for the drive that you have, that you are compelled by compassion, that you are driven in a passionate pursuit of us, that you seek to embrace us in such a profound, intimate, holy, loving, joyful way. It's in an encounter, an experience, an embrace by the divine, by your presence, through your spirit and through your word, that we find ourselves transformed, lifted, comforted, filled with hope, even renewed. And just thank you. Thank you. You are the reason why we seek to embrace, why we are compelled by compassion ourselves. So I just pray this very specific, simple prayer for my brothers and sisters on the call. And I ask that you would gift them something that is as unique as they themselves are. Handcrafted gift of wisdom, insight, knowledge, beauty, truth, something living and alive, something useful, but also beautiful. And I pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Justin. Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. Bless you all, and keep up the good work.